The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans and all Brentford fans. Brentford fans, we have one of your legends on the show today. So you know who it is. You've seen the thumbnail. You know, it's no big secret. Firstly, apologies for the lack of a preview for the Manchester City game, but yeah, we quite enjoyed that, didn't we? You know, we have finally beaten the champions of England, and Erling Haaland, well, he could have scored right at the end, but he didn't. Now, before we get going with our special interview today, here's about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, my special guest today has played over 200 times for his football club, Brentford. He's also scored over 75 goals as well for the football club after signing from Slough Town as a youngster. He's also played for the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Reading, Yeovil Town, Cheltenham Town, amongst many others as well. And we're also going to cover off a question that I've never found the answer to. It is a pleasure to welcome on Brentford legend, Brentford Hall of Famer, LLOYD OWUSU. Welcome to the show, Lloyd. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, pal. All good. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, you are a Brentford legend. We will discuss that in a bit as well. And you are one of the Hall of Famers at what was Griffin Park and now is the Gtech as well.
Yep. So yeah, absolutely honoured and privileged when they told me about the Wall of Fame and Hall of Fame. So I'm absolutely delighted.
Excellent. How did it come about?
Do you know what? I didn't even know nothing about this Hall of Fame at all. And then I must have got a phone call from Peter Gillen, Mr. Brentford. He heard that I was coming back to the UK because I was coming back. I think I was coming back for a wedding or something. I think this was back in 2006. I can't remember when it was, to be fair now. Yeah, about 2015 or 16. Mm-hmm. I think I was coming back, and then he says, "Yeah, we've got this Hall of Fame, and you've been voted as one of the obviously all-time greats. So we're here that you're coming back. We'd like to present it to you at a Nottingham Forest game, which was live on Sky at the time. And I went down, watched the game, and at half-time, brought me on the pitch to parade me, and gave me my plaque and saying, you're part of the Brentford Hall of Fame. So I was delighted and honoured.
Well deserved, mate. Well deserved after what you did at Brentford Football Club. And of course, we'll go into quite some depth about your history with Brentford and also another couple of clubs as well. One person in particular, one manager that you played under, who was very successful both at Brentford and another side as well. But let's discuss, how your love of football began. How did it start for you, Lloyd?
You know what? As any kid, as a youngster, you know, what I mean, you watch football on the TV. It's every boy's dream. You know, I used to just watch it when I was a kid and love it. However, I was more into athletics. To be fair, when I was younger, I was doing more athletics than football. And then I would say my real passion for football probably came when I was about 12, 13. And then from there, I never sort of really looked back.
Excellent. Was there any particular team that you supported as a boy?
Yeah, I always supported Liverpool. It's quite strange being a southerner supporting a team from up north, but my cousin Ernest just used to love Liverpool, and I think because of the eras of John Barnes and Ian Rush, that era back in the late 80s, he just got me into supporting Liverpool, and ever since then I've always followed them, and love watching them and always supported them.
Excellent. Well, you did join your hometown team, Slough. As I remember, the club were in a bit of financial difficulty when you joined them. What was the period like with your hometown team?
Yeah, it was actually quite good because I was at Crystal Palace as a schoolboy up to under 15s, and I didn't get retained for the schoolboy going under 16. So from there, I went to play for Slough Town Youth as under 16s. It was went to play for them, and then just having some youth games. Obviously, a couple of years in there, and then when I was about 16, later when I was about 17, got opportunities to play for Slough Town reserves. And within that time, I was scoring goals in the reserves, and then I got a call up for the first team. But like you say, there was always some financial difficulties in the background with the chairman and everything. So, but like, as players, we just concentrated on trying to do the best we could for the club, and just trying to, for me, just trying to obviously just try and score goals and see what happens from there.
Well, Brentford did come calling quite shortly after, and they paid what actually remains to this day, Lloyd, as
Still the record, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a record
Yeah,
fee.
still
What was the fee? Was it
25,000. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your thoughts of Griffin Park when you walked through the door, and of course the late Ron Nodes?
Yeah, for me, it was a dream come true. Firstly, I was a boy from Slough playing non-league football. On my debut, I scored 4 goals for Slough Town. I think that got people talking. The professional clubs anyway. And then Brentford come knocking on the door. To be fair, the deal never nearly happened with Brentford. So when I got told about the deal, I was actually on trial at Walsall, and I came down to sign for Brentford. I met them at the airport because they were flying out to La Manga. And I had an agent at the time called Lanry Oakey. So he met me at the airport with Brian McDermott. And Ron Knows said, yeah, here's a contract. This is what you're looking at, a 3-year deal, XYZ on the figures and blah, 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 goal bonus. And I was like buzzing. I was thinking, wow, I was just happy to sign anything. And then Lanry, the agent, was like, no, we're not signing. This is a derisory offer. And I'm thinking to myself, no way, I don't care what it was. I want to be a professional and play. So he was like, no, we're not signing. So I had my mentor, Danny Bailey, who was at Slough Town as a senior player at the time, was really good to me. I called Danny. I said, Dan, look, Brentford have offered me this deal. And Lanry saying it's not good enough. I don't care. I want to sign. So Danny spoke to Lanry and said, look, let the kid sign. You can't let this opportunity go away. So Lanry goes, okay, if he wants to sign, he can sign. So anyway, I signed the deal, and then I got rid of that agent anyway. So the rest was history, as they say.
What was your first impressions of Ron Nodes? And are we talking about the same Brian McDermott that later managed Reading as well?
Yeah, Uncle Bry. So he was my manager at Slough Town, and I've been brought up with Brian because obviously him being a Slough boy himself. You know what I mean? I've always looked up to him, and he brought me through Slough Town youth into the first team, and then as for Ron, the gaffer, may he rest in peace. He was a great man. Obviously, you see him on TV, and obviously when he was at Crystal Palace, how he was very controversial to a certain degree. But overall, he was a good guy. He was a good guy.
Well, you hit the ground running at Brentford, didn't you? From memory, and in that first season, 1998-99, wasn't it? You scored 25 goals. You was the top scorer in the 3rd division, and you also won the league. Was there any games that really stood out for you, Lloyd, that were pivotal in that promotion campaign? And what was your favourite goal?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, every single game was pivotal because I didn't even expect to even be. I expected to be part of the squad. I didn't expect to play every game. I was only player that season to play all 56 games in league and cup. So for me, it was a dream come true. But like I said, I would say my first ever goal against West Brom. You take that in a cup game as a professional. Playing against Tottenham in the League Cup twice was a great experience. But then I guess coming to the last game of the season when it was literally winner takes all between us and Cambridge, whoever won that game obviously won the league. So luckily for myself, I scored the one and only goal, and we were promoted. Although we were already promoted, but it was who was going to be the champions. And we were champions on their turf, which was brilliant.
Excellent. Well, it's fair to say that you did play against Bournemouth quite a few times throughout your career. If I'm right in thinking, I think it was about 9 or 10 times. You
Okay.
did score against us on a couple of occasions. What were your memories of visiting both the old and the present day Dean Court?
Yeah, so I remember the old one. Did I? I mean, I can't recall. Did I play at the new one then over the
I
career time?
think you did. I think you did. Thinking
So,
back, I might
mm,
be incorrect on that,
so
but
when was that? When was that built? That one, the new one.
the new one would have been built around about 2001, 2002.
Okay, so potentially not, because then I was in the Championship then, and I don't think
hmm
Bournemouth were in. I think they were still in League One or even League Two potentially.
Yeah, we were.
So
Yes, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
so I probably
maybe I'm
did play that.
incorrect on
Yeah,
that. We've come a long way, Lloyd, haven't we? But
fair. Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
what was your memories of the old ground, though?
Yeah, yeah, proper footballing ground. You know what I mean? Tight, close to the pitch, fans, good atmosphere. You know, yeah. I mean, I always enjoyed myself when I played down there. And yeah, like I said, I think I did. I think I did score away there before. To be fair, I think I did.
hmm Well, of course, Ron was in an interesting position, wasn't he? He was
Mm,
both chairman and the manager of the club, and he
yeah.
left when he sold his shares to a supporters group. Were you disappointed that he did leave at the end of 2000?
You know what? The gaffer was quite. Although he was a gaffer, really Ray Lewton was the man on the field who was really
hmm
pulling the strings and obviously taking all the sessions. Ron was really just the face, you know.
Yeah.
But look, he had to do what the gaffer had to do. What he had to do financially for himself, probably. You know, Brentford probably weren't going in the right direction that he wanted to, and he had to look out for himself. So, yeah, it was disappointing to see him going, but like you say, the fans took over as well, and then obviously the backup board started coming in. If I can recall, I think even Matthew Benham started. I think he was in the background back in them days as well because he was always a massive
Yeah.
Brentford fan. So yeah, but like I said, look where they are now. So yeah, I guess it's all in the pudding. The proof's in the pudding there.
I think, if I'm right in thinking, Matthew Benham did eventually pay off for all of the loans which were due to Ron those, didn't he, in the end? I believe, but I might
Yeah, I
be
think so.
incorrect on that.
Mm.
But of course, Ray did take over, and you finished runners-up in the LDV Bands Trophy. What was your relationship like with Ray?
Oh, that was quality. Yeah, proper man manager, great coach, absolutely great coach. Honest to the core, you know what I mean? He will tell a player if he's not doing well, if he's doing well, etc. So I really had a
Mhm.
lot of respect for Ray.
Excellent. Well, of course, Ray did leave, and someone you played for not only at Brentford come in. Super Steve Coppell, as he's known by a lot of the fans of the clubs that he was at.
Mm,
Steve actually guided you to the playoff final. You scored
yeah.
22 goals that season, but it could have been so much better against the club that you were going to later play for.
Mm.
Tell us a little bit more about the highs and lows of that season.
You know what? It was a great season because obviously we had a good team. That the team had kept we kept the nucleus of the team for the last 4 years, which was really good. But on the flip side, we knew that it could be our last hooray because it was a lot of us were coming to the end of our contracts, and then there was a Bosman ruling. We all knew that we could be obviously going elsewhere. And to be fair to the boys, we've all been together for so long, but we all wanted to progress our careers and either get to the Championship or to the Premiership. So if we'd got promoted in that game, potentially we would have all stayed together. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So yeah, we had some highs and lows, but we had some good players coming in because we did lose Gavin Mann, who was pivotal in that
Yeah.
season. We lost him to Watford. However, we got a little gem in Steve Sidwell, who coming from Arsenal as a little 18-year-old, and he bossed the midfield with Paul Evans in midfield. You know, he was quality. And then like I said, we got to the final, and I was a bit gutted really in the final when I look back because we'd played Stoke 3 weeks prior in the league, and we smashed them 3-0, 3-1, I think it was.
Yeah.
Park. But then when we got to Millennium Stadium, I think it was a bit gutted there, really. But we did all right in the end. But at the end of the day, it was what it was. And then everyone went their own separate ways.
So, of course, there was that game, though, at the end of that season, after that 46-game season, and it was against Reading, who, of course, you were going to later play for. You did set up, if I'm right in thinking, you did set up the goal that
we took
gave
the lead.
Brentford the lead. Yeah.
Yeah, we took the lead, ball down the channel, down the left side. I think I skinned. Who was it at the time? The centre half. Oh, who was the centre half? I skinned down. Oh, what was captain's name?
AD Williams.
AD. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
skinned AD, and then I got the ball in across, and then Martin Rowlands with a great finish. And then we thought we were comfortable. Home support going well, and then obviously they brought Jamie Cura off the bench, and yeah, I mean James has always been a great goal scorer, and obviously he scored the goal to equalise, make it 1-1, and then you guys only needed a draw, so yeah, I was gutted really because I thought we did so well that season.
Steve always seems to be quite a calm man. Is he really that calm in the changing room?
Very, yeah. From the side, he was just chilled, relaxed. Such a calm influence on the players. He was just a breath of fresh air.
Never loses his temper at all.
No, never loses. I mean, odd occasion during the season, I've seen him lose his rag a bit, but failing that, he was always very calm.
Yeah, fair enough. You were out of contract at Brentford and had the option to stay, but instead you went to Sheffield Wednesday. Was the departure of Steve Coppell an influence on that? And looking back, were you happy with the decision you made?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say the influence of the gaffer going. He knew he was only going to be there for the year. For me, again, like I said before in the piece, it was all about trying to play in the higher divisions. So as much as I'd been at Brentford for 4 years, great times, they were only going to still be in League One at the time. So I wanted to progress my career and try and give it a go at the Championship or Prem. I had quite a few clubs that I was talking to, and in the end, I decided to pick Sheffield Wednesday.
And of course, you become an instant hero at Sheffield Wednesday, if I'm right in thinking. With your first touch in your first game, you scored against their bitter rivals. How much of that goal do you remember?
I remember it like yesterday, Craig. It was mad because when I signed for Sheffield Wednesday, I was injured because I just probably even the playoff final, I had my knee was done, and then in the end, I had an operation. All the clubs knew I was going to have an op, and went to Wednesday, done my rehab, and it was weird because I had a dream. that I was going to make my debut against United and score as well. And I told all the boys, I said, just watch, I'm going to do my rehab. I'm going to be ready for the United game, for the derby. And in Sheffield, people don't seem to realise, people who are on the outside, they don't realise how big this derby is. And when they told me about this derby, until I experienced it, gee whiskers, it was mad. It was just word of over stuff, I remember warming up, the gaffer calling me over saying, you're going on. And then when I went on, just had an instant feeling. And then, like you say, within about 55 seconds, ball over the top, header back off the crossbar. And then bang, I was just there to put it past Paddy Kelly and 1-0 up, and just ran away. And it's weird because you see him, if you see the highlights, you see me say to a couple of players, to Paul McLaren and Alan Quinn, what did I effing tell you? And they just couldn't believe it. It was mad. Yeah, it was crazy.
Was you happy with your time at Sheffield Wednesday? Because I know that it was a little, struggled a little bit, and where you probably deserved to get a lot more game time than you actually did.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say that. It's bittersweet there, to be fair, because I signed a 3-year deal. And I'm the kind of player. That who wants to play week in and week out, ideally, and see out my contracts where I am. But unfortunately for myself, we weren't going so well. And then the gaffer who brought me in obviously got sacked, Terry Yorath, and then obviously Chris comes in. Chris Turner comes in, and then obviously he has his own philosophy and his own plans and players. We got along well, but he probably didn't see me as one of his guys, and he wasn't sort of playing me. So that following, when he came in, I was in and out. And then the following season, though, I actually started the first game of the season at Swindon, scored 2 as well. But then he was just in and out. It was just making me in and out of the team because now we were in League One. in and out of the team, and I just thought, no, I can't be doing this. And then luckily, I managed to get a move back to Reading in the Championship.
Well, of course, that man that brought you back to, or brought you to Reading, I should say, was Steve Coppell himself. What did he say to convince you to join? Was it a no-brainer, really, Lloyd?
Yeah, firstly, it was a no-brainer, but first I thought it was a joke because I remember, because what exactly happened was when I was at Sheffield Wednesday, we played Brighton away, and obviously he was a gaffer there.
Yes.
So I was on the bench for Wednesday that game, and he just called me in his office just to see me, just to see it, because he hadn't seen me for some time. He said, "Hey, Lloyd, how you doing?" Blah blah. So he goes, "Why aren't you playing?" I went, "Tell me about it," because I'd been scoring prior. And he goes, "Oh, would you come on?" He goes to me, he goes, keep it under wraps, but would you come on loan here?" And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah, for an opportunity to come down south." He goes, "Just keep it quiet, blah blah blah." So anyway, that was obviously the Saturday, and then obviously I'm on the Monday. Obviously, when we got back up to Sheffield, I sort of let the cat out of the bag a bit. I said to the boys, "Oh, I could be going on loan to Brighton." Like, so now downstairs we come back from training, and one of the boys has come up from the canteen. And he goes, "Oh, boys, you see here was the latest news?" And they all said, "What? Steve Coppell's joined Reading." And I was like, "Oh man," I was thinking that's my loan move gone now. So that was that. So obviously this was early whenever he took over. This was September, October, whenever he took over at Reading. So I'm still back at Wednesday, in and out of the team. And then in December, I get a phone call from Cops, and he goes, "Hey Lloyd, Steve Coppell here." And I thought he was joking. I thought, "Who's this?" Okay, he goes, "It's the gaffer." I said, "No, who's winding me up? Who's one?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Serious. Brian McDermott's going to call you to sort out." And I was like, "Wow, serious, isn't it?" Brian McDermott called me. He said, "Our Lloyd was organised for you to come on loan for Reading to get back down south, and then you're going to hopefully come on loan for a month, blah, blah." So, yeah, I made my debut for them against Wimbledon, I think, on Boxing Day. I think it was, or something. Yeah, I think it was Wimbledon Boxing Day. So, yeah, luckily for myself, I'd left the League One to go to Championship, come back to Reading, with obviously closer to home as well. I knew a lot of the Reading boys because we had some great times against them over the years. And I was just delighted to be back down south. So, yeah, that happened there. And then, ended up signing permanent on a 2.5-year deal in the end.
Wasn't there another couple of people as well, boys in the changing room that you played with at Brentford? I think Steve Sidwell was at Reading, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah, Sidwell, Ingemarson.
Sonko?
Sonko didn't really play with Sonko, but either Ingemarson and Stephen Hunt. Hunty wasn't even there. No, Hunty hadn't come yet. Sorry, Hunty hadn't come yet. So yeah, Steve Sidwell, Ingemarson. I knew of Sonko anyway from his times at Brentford, and who I think that was really it. But like I said, I knew all the boys because I knew Shorey and Murty and Glenn Little, Andy Hughes, because we used to play against them all the time. So I knew a lot of them. A.D. Williams. So yeah, it was good.
Of course, Steve Coppell's Reading side would later go on to achieve what remains the record at 106 points in the Championship. Could you see what he was creating?
Oh yeah, I could. Oh, without a doubt, the team was quality, and for myself, I was even gutted because when I look back, that season they went up. I still had another year on my contract, but Cops obviously couldn't. He said, "Lloyd, I can't guarantee you to play week in and week out." And for me, it wasn't about the money. I need to play just to keep my stock up and keep active. So obviously, I ended up leaving to go back to Brentford, and then obviously that season when I had a year, they went up. So in hindsight, do I regret it? Yes and no. Because I honestly do believe that if I had stayed and fought for my place, I would have been in that team regardless. Because you just never know, injuries, suspensions, etc., etc. So yeah, but that's life. That's life.
Well, you did go back to Brentford, and you joined up with Martin Allen, the Mad Dog, as a lot of people like to call him. Again, was it a bit of a no-brainer? And was you a bit concerned because they say never go back? You set up such a legacy at Brentford beforehand. Were you worried of ever ruining that?
Yeah, I was, to be fair, because it was even the way I even went to Brentford. It was a funny story because I had a couple of games for the reserves at Reading, and I went back to my car. I got back to my car in the car park, and there was a note on my car, and it said, "Your club needs you." I'm thinking, who left this note on my car? Club needs you, anyway. Cut long story short, obviously, when I've ended up going to meet Brentford at the airport with my agent and John Griff, may he rest in peace, and the gaffer, I was talking to him, and he said, and the gaffer goes to my man goes, you know, your club needs you, and it just came back to me. I was like, oh my god, was that you put that note in my car? And he goes, he's sitting there laughing at it. I said, oh, he's crazy. But look, everyone used to say never go back, and I was a bit tentative because I wanted, because like I said, I left there I had 4 great years there and done really well. But for me, I saw his project that he was doing. It's more about the project. I thought, you know what, it doesn't matter about the team. At the end of the day, I've been there before, it doesn't matter. But it's not about that. It's about what he's looking to do, because the season before they'd done quite well. And I just liked the project that he was doing. So I thought, yeah, give it a go. And yeah, ended up signing 2 years there. And yeah, it all went to plan to a certain degree until obviously I got injured.
Well, of course, we've spoken about Steve Coppell, but let's talk quickly about Mad Dog. Does he deserve that name, Lloyd?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. He's nuts. The guy's nuts. He's just a different, like what he does, everything is, with what he does with his madness, it's all geared to getting results, and fair play to him. He just does things unorthodox, but it brings results and team camaraderie.
And he does look after his players as well. You can tell that. You can tell that from, you know, his interviews and how he is, his whole demeanour, how everybody seems to love him as well, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's how he is. He's a great man great man manager. You know what I mean? But I mean, like saying, but when he loses himself, he loses himself. I mean, I've seen him. Yeah, he's me and him have a love-hate relationship. But yeah, I love him to bits. He's a great guy.
It's around that sort of time as well that you did get the call up to play for Ghana.
Yeah.
What stories do you have playing for the national team?
Well, obviously, we're talking nearly 20 years now, aren't we? So it's mad.
Yeah.
Back in them days, it was crazy. I played for Reading originally when I first got my first ever call up. I got made, my first ever call up was against FC Nantes. FC Nantes, I think it was. And yeah, look, imagine getting a call up for Ghana. I never really thought I'd play for my motherland, because I never really thought about Ghana as a national team. To be fair, you know. But then they called me up. I thought, yeah, and why not give it a chance? So anyway, playing in France. So imagine playing in France, Greg. And to get to France is quite an easy trip to get there.
Yeah.
But back in them days, because it was cheaper, they made myself and Patrick Adjiman, who was at Wimbledon at the time, go around the world to get there. It was unbelievable. We ended up going from Stansted to I think we went flew from Stansted to Holland, then Holland to somewhere else in France, and then a train ride to where the camp was. It took us nearly 2 days to get there, all because it was cheaper. It was mad. But yeah, when I got there, it was a bit surreal because, again, I didn't really know a lot of I didn't know much about the Ghanaian players, but I knew about people like Stephen Appiah, because at that time he was playing for, I think he might have been at Juventus at the time. I knew about him and a couple, but then obviously young Mike Essien, didn't really know much about him. But when I saw these guys in the flesh and see him train, different class. They were different class. So yeah, made that debut and then had a couple more appearances. But then the year when I was doing well for Brentford, like you said, I was flying for Brentford the year of the World Cup for Ghana. When our first ever World Cup, I was flying for Brentford, and in the warm up game, probably late on in the season, and the warm up game, and we played that in Germany. And unfortunately for myself, I ruptured my hip flexor. And then I was my groin and hip flexor ripped off the bone, and I wasn't fit enough to be available for selection, unfortunately.
Martin Allen did leave the football club and was replaced by Leroy Rossignol, and then Scott Fitzgerald come in. I think it was. Am I right in thinking it was when Leroy was there that you did get injured, and it kind of ran into Scott's tenure as well at the club?
Yeah, so I was really, because I had 2 years on my deal anyway. Because I signed a 2-year contract, and then obviously it was at the end. It was at the end of the 2000 and so it was the end of the 2000 and end of 2006 season. That's when I got injured. But then the injury was ended up being a year long injury. So while I was in rehab and everything, that's when Leroy came in, and then Scott was already there as a youth team manager, and he sort of took an interim. Then he went manager. So when I was coming back, I wasn't really involved in regards of around the tracks for the whole year because I was injured. But I was only just doing my rehab, and then when I was fit enough, the club was struggling, and I think I ended up coming. I think I did it. I ended up coming on. I think the last game of the season. I think I actually came on. I think it was more of a sort of a farewell because I knew I wasn't going to get another contract there because I'd been out for a whole year. So yeah, I was a bit gutted really.
What was your relationship like with Leroy and Scott? And Leroy in particular is a man that I feel that should have had a lot more chances higher up the pyramid.
Yeah, again, because I was injured. To be fair, I didn't really have much.
Mm,
Didn't have much liaisons with him. To be fair, obviously I was out for the whole year, so I
mm.
would come in do my rehab. I mean, obviously see the gaffers and say hello to them and everything, but I was hardly ever in their presence because I was out with my injury.
Yeah. So you didn't really have that much of a relationship with them, even
Nah,
though, no,
nah.
fair enough.
Only was always a respectable relationship. Don't get me wrong. If I see Leroy or Scott, yeah, great relationship like that. But I never had a relationship within the realms of actually football training and their coaching.
Despite Brentford's relegation, though, Lloyd, you did stay in the third tier with Yeovil Town and then Cheltenham. Did you enjoy playing for both the Glovers and the Robins?
Yeah, different experiences. Cheltenham, Yeovil first was obviously a bit of a hard one because, like I said, I've been out for the whole year.
Yeah.
So for them to take a gamble to a certain degree on me I appreciate they did, and I thought when I signed there, I did all right though for them. Did all right. It was a bit different being down the south of England, a
Hmm.
bit of different culturally as well. Very Anglo-Saxon. But yeah, I thought I did well. Some nice teammates down there, and then obviously signed the following. I triggered my second year, but again, then that club went into financial desperations, and then I had to leave there to go on loan to Cheltenham.
Hmm. And then from Cheltenham, you did go have a spell at Brighton as well, because if I'm right in thinking, Cheltenham were also in a bit of financial struggles,
Yeah,
weren't they?
yeah. So I signed for Cheltenham in the end after going on loan, signed for them, and then again they were struggling to form because I was one of the highest paid players, so they had to try and get me off the wage bill. And then luckily for myself, I went to Brighton, who were obviously struggling in League One at the time as well. But I thought I wasn't for me as much as they were struggling. It was just about hopefully getting game time. I just wanted to get some game time and some minutes. And went to Brighton, and I probably had one of the best 15 games of my career
Hmm.
for them because, like I say, when I joined, I think we were like 8 points adrift from relegation, so we were practically down and out. But yeah, went on a 15-game run and I scored 7 goals, I think, and then goals kept us up.
You always did seem like, even when you was at Reading and Brentford, you always seemed to score vital goals at the right time as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it's weird. I think that was just part of my persona, my life. It was just like a bit of, not
Mhm.
wouldn't say lucky, but I just always believed in myself, in my ability that when the big games come, that's when Owusu really steps up and it just it seems to fall for me.
One bit that, and of course, I do quite a bit of research before I interview all guests. And Lloyd, this is one bit I didn't really know too much about, and I've
Mm,
never realised. But of course, you went to Luton, and then you went to Cyprus,
mm,
but you come straight back after a month
yeah,
to join Barnet. What was the whole story of that?
yeah. So again, Luton was fantastic. Again, that's another great time in my
Mhm.
career when I scored 7 goals in 14 games, but then I didn't really get treated well by the gaffer who took over, Gary Brabham,
Mhm.
which I thought was bang out of order with what happened with Mr. Mooney because he was Mr. Money. He was great. The gaffer who brought me in. So yeah, then when Brabham took over, he just dropped me out of the team because when I was still scoring goals for fun. Playoff final didn't even play me. Wasn't even in the squad, which I didn't understand. So ended up leaving to go to Cyprus. So with Cyprus, I thought, you know what? I've never been abroad before. Let's give it a go. So I went to Cyprus, signed a year contract, uh, and then all of a sudden, because we're due to get paid weekly,
Mhm.
and wasn't getting paid like the first few weeks. I was thinking, what's going on? And I said to the agent, mate. Then about 3 weeks later, they gave me some money, which is happy days. And then I was staying in a lovely villa as well. And then they weren't paying. They weren't paying the landlord. So, but then in the end, they paid him. So that was that. And then we were trading one evening, and then all of a sudden, I see because all the foreign guys they gave us all like some cars. They gave us a club car. We weren't the best car, just to get us around anyway. Next thing, when I'm training, saw all the directors coming. They just drove off with the cars. I'm like, freaking out. I said to the players, "What's going on here?" And then they said, "Oh, the club's struggling." Blah blah. Just drove away with the car. So I phoned up the agent. I said, "Mate, you need to get me out of here before the window closes in England, so I can try and get back So luckily for myself, before the window closed, I got back. Luckily found a club in Barnet, and then that was that.
With regards to because I never knew anything about that, and I couldn't find anything about
Yeah.
the struggles in Cyprus at the time. But what sort of conversations did you have once you agreed and decided that you was going to go to Barnet, or was it a case of just getting straight out there, let the agent deal with the club, and get back to
Yeah.
football?
I don't even recall, to be fair. I don't recall even talking to anyone from Cyprus. I just told the agent, look, tell them to give me a bit of my pay up, and let me get out of there. That finally happened. Got a little pay up, and just got out of there. Came back to UK. Spoke to a few other clubs, and then Barnet were quite keen, and I thought, yeah, London, easy. So yeah, ended up signing for them. And it was a guest assignment at the time. It was Sanchez, yeah, Lobby Sanchez. So yeah, came signed for them, and yeah, it was okay. I think I only played about 7 games in the end, and then I went out on loan to Hayes and Yedden because he wasn't playing me as well. So I went to Hayes and Yedden for a bit, and then came back to Barnet, and then yeah, I think then if I'm not mistaken, I left. Yeah, then I left Barnet to go back to Slough Town. Yeah, I think I left at the end. I thought there's no point in chasing a career now. Just left there at the end of the window of the Christmas window, I think, and then ended up playing for Slough. Went back to Slough Town. I thought, you know what, give it full circle, go and give it back to my old club.
But that wasn't the end, was it? Because you did go, and this is something again I didn't realise. You went to Australia, and what attracted you to the land down under, Lloyd?
Yeah, so originally, like I said, I was at Brighton. So the Australian move
Mhm.
came back from Brighton. So when I was at Brighton, I did really well, and then I mean, look, no player's ever entitled to what they're never entitled to what they're entitled to. So but I said to the gaff, I said, look, I would love a 2-year career because a 2-year deal. So because you want a bit of stability. I'm getting a bit older. I felt like I did really well for the club, kept him up, and he was like, oh, no, I can only give you 1 year. I said, look, give me 2 years on less money. I was even happy to take less money, but they said no. They offered me 1 year. But I just wanted 2 years because I just felt I needed that stability. And obviously Australia came calling, and I thought it was a good deal as well financially. And I thought, you know what, something different. And that's how I went. That's how I ended up going to Australia originally, and then done there for 2 years. But obviously, my first year in Australia, not even my first year, my first month, I got struck down with swine flu and pneumonia when the pandemic was in. So I sort of killed me from day dot. So I never ever got my real fitness in Australia, and never really got to showcase my real true talent. And ended up playing 16 games in the end, 1 goal. And then the second season, I had a big knee operation, so I was out for the whole year. And then I got paid up with 6 months left of my contract to move back to UK. And that's when I came to Luton, and then ended up going to Cyprus, and then to Barnet. And then I thought, yeah, that's me done. I need to stop chasing the game and think about my next chapter of my career.
And of course, you are back in Australia now. What do you actually do? I believe you're a teacher at school, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I'm not a teacher. So I'm a general duty master. So I'm head of discipline of the
Okay.
school. Yeah, so I'm like the middleman between the boys and the teachers. So you could say the sort of enforcer. But yeah, in Australia they call it, some private schools call it school sergeant. And then and I do some of the football program as well. But yeah, my main job is the discipline side, where I make sure the boys are adhering to their appearances, their attitudes. I look after all of the detentions. I do all the investigations with the director of students. Work alongside the heads of houses with all the boys. So it's a really great role with my sort of personality and character. It's a really great role with the boys because they really look up to me because they know where I've been, my career, my character. They can really look up to someone like me and sort of strive and just look up to me really, and they're really respectable.
Just going back to Brentford as well. Of course, you did, like we said earlier on, you did join the Hall of Fame, and you played over 200 times for the club, and scored over 75 goals. And like you said, you set up so many more as well, including that goal, in that final day of the season against Reading, where Brentford nearly got promoted. Is there a particular time or a game or something that stands out above everything else?
Yeah, like I said before, I guess it'll be that goal against Cambridge
Hmm.
was, yeah. But also, I say that even the goal. I remember the goal against Huddersfield in the playoff semi to get us to the final of the playoff final. I remember, yeah, we were. I think we were one. I think it was 0 at half time or 1-0 down, and then I scored a goal straight as soon as we come out with a great goal, really beautiful curler. And then I
Hmm.
think Darren Powell scored the second goal. So the can't recall it was 2-0, 2-1. But that was a great goal because the atmosphere hit Griffin Park on a Tuesday night with the
Yeah.
lights and a bit of Drew was a great atmosphere. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Do you think that the fans and a lot? I know what a couple of the fans feel. I've had Richard Archer on here and Adam Devlin, and I've asked them very similar questions. But from a professional's perspective, do you think that the players now, if they could go back in time and play at Griffin Park, do you feel that they would prefer it to the Gtech?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, even the Gtech's a great bouncing place now. The way they've even
Yeah.
created it, it's still tight to the stadium and it's really close to the fans, But like I said, there's nothing better than Griffin Park. 4 pubs on each corner.
Hmm.
The evening lights, but obviously it's very small in regards of capacity. Where obviously the Gtech now is obviously 18, 19,000 in the promised land. So I think players. I don't know. I think they're a bit of both. To be fair, a bit of both.
Yeah, no, can understand. The modern mod cons isn't there, but at the
Mm,
same time, Griffin Park, those stadiums, you know, every time one closes down, and of course we're going to lose Goodison Park this year.
mm,
You think, another one's closed down for
mm,
one of these new flashy. Yeah, it needs to happen, but at the
of
same
course,
time, it's kind of that's what makes football, isn't it?
football.
Really,
Yeah,
Lloyd?
it's real tradition. Yeah, real football, as they say.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to, of course, this weekend's game because traditionally this would be, as we say, a Division 3, a Division
Yeah.
2 game, really. Um, you know, okay, we played against each other in the Championship a couple of times, but
Mm,
even then it was a bit of an unusual game. But of course, we're both in the Premier League now,
yeah.
which, when you think about the clubs, is remarkable, isn't it? Really?
Fantastic for 2 clubs of that stature. I mean, small fan base in regards of where they are, where they come from, in part of each suburbs or state or counties you want to say to where they both are now. It's a great story. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I mean Bournemouth, you guys nearly went out of distinction, didn't you?
Yeah,
Nearly went out
minus
like
17.
yeah, you know what I mean. Nearly went out the football league full stop, and then to be in the promised land now, dream come true.
Well, of course, Thomas Frank is at Brentford. He is the main man.
Mm,
And I don't think I'm alone, Lloyd, in thinking that, you know, and being surprised that a big six club or a big club abroad hasn't approached him. But
mm,
he seems very ingrained into the football club. He knows from the youth level all the way up,
mm,
of course, to the first team.
yeah.
It's firstly, do you feel it's incredibly rare in this era of football? And do you feel that approach, Thomas Frank's approach, has contributed to that success?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times when I've been back in the UK, and his his love for the club and his love for the boys and everyone around is very pleasing to see. He's kept a real stability, and he's kept true to himself. He's kept true to his real identity, and I
Hmm.
think you can see that on the pitch with Brentford since when he's taken over now. I think this is his. I think this is will be his 4th year. I think as manager. I think his 4th, even going into 5th
Yeah.
year, maybe as manager. And like I said, he's just been consistent. He's just been consistent with his approach. Very methodical guy, very clever, very articulate. So yeah, he's in good stead. But like you said, look, will he be gone in the next few years if Brentford keep doing the way they do? Most likely, yes. Because look, as much as Brentford are Brentford, and he probably loves them, at the end of the day, he's got ambitions himself to probably be, you know what I mean, in a top 6 club or even international manager at maybe like a Denmark, and if you never knows, So yeah, I wish him all the best, whatever he does.
From knowing him, Lloyd, and from meeting him, um, what would you say, is his core features? Because, comparing him to somebody like Eddie Howe, who of course
Mm.
is a legend at AFC Bournemouth, he seems to be in that mould that he's there at 6 o'clock in the morning, will be there the last one to leave. He seems of that mould. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, like I said, he's got a love for the club. He's got a love for the place. He's got a love for his players. So he only wants the best for everyone. So everyone who's connected to the club. And that's not just the football. That's not just the players. That's from the backroom staff. That's to the operational staff. That's to the groundsman. He shows love and respect to everyone, from what I witnessed.
Of course, a lot of people would have thought as well that Brentford would have struggled this season through the loss of Ivan Toney.
Mm.
Bit of a, couple of questions really in this. Firstly, was you disappointed because of what Ivan Toney did both at the Euros and also for the football club? How he went, where
Mm.
he went, and how much for? Do you feel that there's a bit of disappointment in those three aspects?
It's a yeah. Look, the aspects what you said there. You can look in it for a fine toothbrush. It's
Hmm.
at the end of the day, he's 28 years of age, 28, 29. He's looking out for his family, which you've got to respect.
Yeah.
Was it too early to leave the Prem? Personally, I think he could have probably done a couple more years here and then gone to Saudi potentially, believe in
Yeah.
his own ability, and either whether he got another move in the Prem and then go to Saudi. But at the end of the day, when someone's offering you 300,000 a week, tax
Hmm.
free, it's life changing. It sort of says itself. You got to sort of take it to a certain degree, So fair play to the kid. He's got to do what he's got to do, and yeah, it's not like I said, no, it's not the greatest league, but he's doing it for a financial. Excuse me, he's doing it for a financial aspect.
Do you think it will harm his options with England moving forwards, though, going to
Oh no, he won't.
Saudi?
Yeah, he won't play for England again. No, he won't play. He won't play. My personal opinion, he won't play for England unless he comes back into the promised land. Which again, that'll probably be hard now with him. Probably go there 2-3 years, whatever he signed. If he sees it out, comes back. If he does come back, yeah, look, if he does come back 31, 32, and he's scoring goals and he's fit enough, potentially a lower league Premiership club could potentially sign him up. But he'll never play for England again. In my own opinion.
But of course, since Tony has left as well, Lloyd, Brian Mbembe has become even more prolific than he already was.
Mm.
Were you surprised that he made the step up?
Not really. I mean, I've seen him in training a few times when I was, like I said, when I was back with him. He's actually improved his game because he gets a lot of chances. However, I used to speak
Yeah.
to Kevin O'Connor quite a lot. He would get chances, but he was never clinical. So I think he's potentially worked on his game over the last year, and he's getting chances. He's really been clinical and putting his chances away. Where before he would get pretty easy chances and still miss them. Where now he's getting them and he's putting them in. I think he on 7, 8 goals. I think for the season already.
Yeah.
So he's good going. You know what I mean? So hopefully he can continue that rise, and obviously with Whistle as well.
He is being clinical against our football club, though, I've got to be honest. And he's got a very, very good goal scoring record against Bournemouth. As a striker who is prolific yourself, would you look out against teams that you'd scored lots against already? And do you think Brian will be doing the same and rubbing his hands with glee and going, right, Bournemouth are coming up. Here we go. I'm going to grab a couple more.
Yeah, you always do as a striker. When you've got a taste against a team that you've always scored, you always look forward to that team again. I mean, I had quite a lot of times. I mean, with me, I remember playing Rotherham. Always that was like not an easy team, but I just always seem to score against Rotherham. Southend, I used to always seem to score
Mhm.
against them. So yeah, you always look at certain teams that you're going to play that you've had real good games in the past.
I think the only way we're going to stop him scoring against Bournemouth is if we sign him, to be honest. He seems to be our Achilles heel. Whenever we play Brentford, he pops up, as
Yeah.
does the man that you mentioned, Johan Wissa,
Mm.
who, again, has a great game against us every single time. Have you been impressed with him this season?
Yeah, again, he's another one who's come to the forefront. Been sort of got that focal point up top as well. So with them two combining, hopefully they can continue and keep Brentford up in the Premiership again.
It's been quite a consistent squad as well, hasn't it, Lloyd? Because apart from Fabio Carvalho
Mm,
and his regular inclusion, it's been, and of course, Ivan Toney leaving the club,
mm,
it's been
mm.
quite consistent. Do you feel that Brentford have got enough strength in depth at present, though, if there's injuries?
Uh, Look, I think they have in regards to even the good boys coming through from the B team. There's some really
Mm.
good talent there. So if injuries happen, boys will be given a chance. I think these boys who might in the B team come through, they'll surprise many people. So I think Brentford is one of them clubs that no matter who comes through onto that pitch, they'll just do a job for the team and for the gaffer and do well.
Of course, there was an injury as well to one of your new signings, Igor Thiago, and you spent a lot of money. Was it £30 million on him? I
I
think.
believe so.
I guess in that's a big loss, but something potentially to look forward to
Mm,
once he's back. But is he going to be able to? Because it's a long-term injury.
mm.
Do you see him making an impact at all this season?
Now, it's good, like I say, when you get injuries like that, it's not easy to come back from.
Mhm.
And even when you come back from, depending on when he comes back, yeah, I mean, if he does come back, he does bring a bit of quality. But again, it's hard when you come back from a hard injury like that to try and be back on your form and your top end game again. It's very hard for an individual and a player.
No, I can understand. Well, of course, we're in great form at the moment. Not to worry you, Lloyd, but
Mm,
we've beaten Arsenal. We beat Man City last weekend.
mm,
Absolutely fantastic result, fantastic performance, and got a draw up at Aston Villa as well.
mm,
How does Thomas Frank set up, considering we have kind of perfected at this moment in time, I should say, everybody,
mm.
at this moment in time, this high press?
Yes, it's what I mean. I don't know how. I mean, again, when you say about the high press, and that's the thing. So many of these teams, even now, still, even when teams play a high press, the teams still want to try and play play from the back. So
Hmm.
I get so concerned when I see that because you try and play against a high press and playing from the back, and at the end, if you lose that ball in that final third, you're getting punished in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So I think Brentford might have to mix up, and lucky with Brentford because we've got the likes of Whistle and Mabama who are a bit boisterous and like really physicality. You could miss them lines, you know what I mean? So you could go a bit more direct. So especially if Bournemouth are playing with a high press, with their three or four who are trying to press us, there's going to be gaps in behind for us to try and get the ball past that first line and then get into the second and third quickly and hopefully get up the pitch to try and score goals for us, you know.
Well, of course, we've got to predict this game. And we do this every single time. How do you reckon it's going to go, Lloyd?
Where's the game at, by the way? So let me know, is it home or away
It
for?
is at the Gtech.
Okay, it's at Brentford then. Oh, man. Gee. I mean, you lot are in good form. We're not doing too bad. I mean, you know what? I actually got to go. I think it's going to be a tight game. I can see a 3-2 to Brentford. I'm going to go
3.
3-2.
Who's
Yeah.
going to score?
I think them two will probably score. And for
Mhm.
you boys, so for me, Semedo's freaking. He's just top draw. He's a top player. So I think he'll probably get on the score sheet. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game. But like I said, hopefully we come out with 3 points.
To be honest, I can see Brian scoring as well. He does it every single
Mm,
time. So, I've got to give you a goal. But I completely agree with you on Semenyo. I think I'm concerned now, considering how much he's stepped up even further from last season,
mm,
when I didn't really think it was possible to step up even more, but he's managed to
mm,
do it. He's an absolutely outstanding talent
yeah,
who I think is destined probably for a big six club. I think he is.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think He's a young lad. When he first signed, I thought he was a little bit inconsistent at Bristol City. I was a bit concerned, but Iraola's got the best out of him. I can see him going to a Big Six club, and I think we've just got to enjoy him. But I think he'll score. But I'm not going to bet against my own team, Lloyd. I'm
Of
not.
course not. Of course not.
And I think Evanilson, he's got two goals in successive games. I think let's make that 3. Yeah, let's keep that ball rolling. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, but I can't see Brian not scoring because he does it every single time. It's just fate, really. It's going to happen. But as long as he only scores the 1, that's the main thing.
Brilliant.
Lloyd, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time today. All the very, very best in Australia. And hopefully, when you're next in the UK, we'll catch up and, hopefully see a game.
All right, mate. Pleasure. Appreciate that.
All right.
Have a great
one. All the very best,
Cheers,
mate.
pal.
Take care. Cheers,
Take
mate.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Remember, hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Now, do go and check out all of our other videos as well. We have had Matt Letizier, of course, a Southampton legend, on this show as well, and Paul Rideout, an Everton legend, who scored their last goal at a final, of course, against Manchester United, where they won the FA Cup. We've also had lots of special guests. Brentford fans, you will be interested in this. Richard Archer from Hardfi has been on the show. We've also had Adam Devlin from the Blue Tones on here as well. So go check those out. Like I say, all the details are in the interview tab. You'll be able to find them there. We've also had the likes of Tom Meehan from Kasabian. We've had Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene, Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays. Who can forget Richie Neville from the boy band 5? We've had David Icke, of course, he's a Leicester fan. And we've had many, many more. And of course, Omid Jalili as well, the comedian. So if you do want, plenty of stories about his time growing up supporting Chelsea, and then of course moving to Ipswich and supporting them as well, go watch out, and lots of laughs in that, with the occasional quite serious story as well with that one. So go check them out. Until the next one, Up the Cherries. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. We'll see you soon.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.